Hey there, everybody. Thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today I'll be continuing on this 5-week kind of splurge into Rust Belt Review Comics Anthology, which is put out by organized by and kind of managed by Sean Knickerbocker. I think what Sean's doing here with this collection of artists and this kind of regional view that he's taking is really awesome. I think these regional, underground regional anthologies or indie regional anthologies that have been popping up, Reptile House, Cram, the Dead Crow stuff, the Rust Belt Review, what Austin English is doing with Jaywalk Comics and stuff like that. I think is really great, and they're all each have their own particular flavor, and I'm really excited about the Rust Belt Review because it speaks most to my taste. Those other ones are all really interesting, and there's been a lot of really impressive work in them, but I think this one is most like the type of comics that I want to make, or that I wish I could make that I don't have the skills to make, especially the writing. Really impressive cartooning all throughout. So I'm really enjoying it, and I was gonna do all 5 at once, and I've enjoyed it so much that I've had to split it up into one a piece. So if you haven't watched the first one, go back and watch that because there's some continuing stories in here, and then definitely keep checking back over the next couple of weeks as I put out the rest of them because these are great books. Each one starts with a little editorial by Sean Knickerbocker. In this one, he's talking about how fun it is to organize something like this because everyone's doing their own thing. There's no like themes like this like there are in certain anthologies, but he's seeing like a zeitgeist forming anyways, an accidental theme. So he's saying there's kind of an unintentional theme in this issue that he saw at least, and could you find it? So I was trying to look for that while I was reading, but I got sucked into each story. So I'm going to try to, on the fly, see if I can extract what the overall theme is. But if not, no big deal. There's some writing in here by Juan Jose Fernandez, who contributed to a comic to the first issue. Then you get here a piece by a new addition to the crew, Evan Salazar. Evan Salazar is telling this story about someone who finds a video game where they have to swap cartridges, and that the type of game even changes, from like a side scroller to a turn-based RPG. So that's a really interesting idea. I don't play many video games, but I did play a Zelda game that had two where you had to switch back and forth. And it seems like this is maybe going to be a story that continues. I'm not quite sure because it didn't have a to be continued at the end of it, but it looks like this character ran into not having a third cartridge, and that's kind of where that story leads off. He's stoned and doesn't have the third cartridge. Then we go to the Eat Street Diners Club, and this is I don't know if this is something that Will Dinski does other stories about, if this is just an episode out of something larger, but this is called Find a Gun. This one I think is actually pretty interesting, and again something that I'm curious to see more about. Hopefully it will be an ongoing feature. But there's this eating club, they get together to eat. This character that we start with, Joe, is enjoying bagels, and he sees a crime happen and someone throws a gun out the window, and he picks up the gun to protect these kids from it, and then the cops see him with the gun, and so he has to run from them and figure out what to do, how to discard this gun he's got, but also trying to have a nice time with his eating club. And so that's kind of the premise of it. It's definitely needs to keep going. It's not finished. But I really like this panel here where he's got like it's like a word balloon, but it doesn't really need to be because it's just a grayed out. You get the idea that this is what's occupying him. And also to have the lettering around him being grayed out. It's like he's just so absorbed in, this crazy thing that he stumbled into where he picked up this gun that he's not engaged. So I really like that. I really enjoy the cartooning style, the kind of pretty clean line, but like everything put into these strange abstract shapes and stuff works really well for me. I really like it, really fluid, reads really well, great storytelling, kind of subtle storytelling too, like without, words and stuff. You kind of just watch these sequences unfold, especially at the beginning here where, the gun's being thrown out of the car and he's having to think about, all the factors involved. So I think that's really good. Then we get back to Andrew Greenstone's Professor Livingston's Labyrinthine Trivia Trials. And remember, this is this girl has been rescued from a big like Squid Games type of underground thing that she got kidnapped and is the only survivor. Now she's getting mystery mail, which they suspect are kind of the things that she won during her trials there in this crazy game show, but they're trying to protect her from it. I think the most interesting part about this second episode of this is that this character here, the survivor Naomi, she's obviously like the impact of surviving this game is obvious on her just in like this one panel. She's obsessed with trivia. You see all this facts and trivia and knowledge about the world, and also obsessed with physical fitness. And you can imagine, like, this isn't stated explicitly, you just kind of pick up on it, and I think that's really well handled by Andrew Greenstone, is like, yeah, if you got put in this crazy Squid Game cult thing, like, your values in life would be skewed towards being able to win competitions, both physical and intellectual. And so even though she's out of that environment now, that damage lasts as like this value that she has, and that just makes me think about the values that I have in life, about how hard I work and how much I do and all that kind of stuff. What situations led me to have that versus someone who is like just wants to take it relaxed. Is that a personality thing inherent? How much of that is based on the experience? The old nature nurture debate. But I think that's really, really well handled, and that's the type of just really nice writing that's in this book. Also, here, just some of the dialogue I think is really nice. So you see, this job is just an investment in us and our life together. It's part of us being a team, and shut up, come here, teammate. And so that's all really nice, because that's like, me and Tori talk like that all the time. But then you have the boyfriend leaving. So Naomi was his girlfriend before she got captured, and now they're back in a relationship together. And they're talking about being partners and on a team. And then he says, that was before the abduction, of course. Now I don't know what's going to happen. Is there any way we can salvage what's left of our old life and move forward, or will we be stuck in this weird purgatory forever? It's impossible to know, but I just want things to go back to the way they were. And that landed really hard for me because of, everything that's happened with Tori, with the long COVID and the kind of long reaction to the vaccine as well. We're really committed, and she is a great teammate, but oftentimes, like life, in this case, this crazy situation, the psychological damage that's been done, but the physical damage for us kind of oftentimes keeps her from contributing as much as she would like to, and that's been very hard for us. And so we're kind of always in this state of like, will we get back to, that's been most of our relationship, honestly, but can we get back to what we are when she is healthy? We get peaks of that, and we're always kind of striving for it. So that landed really hard for me, and just it's such an interesting, I think the reaction, the thing most people want to see is the Squid Game, right? And you can see here that there are people coming back to, it might head back to that. But a comic that just deals with the emotional consequences of the after the fact is way more interesting to me than watching Squid Games. Like, I turn Squid Games off. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see all the games and stuff like that. But I am very interested in the real life impact that something like that has on somebody, and an author being a good enough writer to successfully fictionalize that and do a character study for it. It's really interesting to me. So I'm excited to see where that one goes. We have an entry in issue 2 here, volume 2, from Alex Nall, who is another one of my kind of favorites that I've found in the last little bit. Somebody whose work on the Town and County, I keep making the mistake and calling it Town and Country, but Town and County, I think is a really good book. I know Alex is very prolific, and there's a bunch of his work I've not got yet. So it's nice to see another thing in another venue that's kind of outside that Town and County world that he's building. And this is equally good, if not better. So this is about Sammy. Sammy is a foster kid who obviously has a crush on the cheerleader at school. I think this scene here, where she's trying to get off and her foster mom just barges into the room, is really, really well rendered. But it's also, really important little bit of information to understand this character's interest in this other character, because she gets involved in a situation, where they sneak out at night. and is basically watching. And I think this is also really understated in the exact perfect way. While they're having this conversation in the car that's not about anything related, she's kind of watching this jock guy, like take advantage of the girl that she has a crush on. And so I think just that understated like glance in the mirror says so much about what's going on in the character's mind. And to me, that's peak comics. You can use that visual cue to say so much without having to say it explicitly. And yet here I sit like an idiot saying it explicitly. So, Alex Nall just continues to be really, really great writer, I think. And his cartooning skills are coming up to meet that as well. So someone who I just think is going to build I keep saying like something like the Palomar. It feels like that's what Alex Nall is doing, is building this little world within these type of communities that are being talked about in this Rust Belt review, these small rural communities that people are talking about. This one also has this, I've totally lost track of the theme again, by the way, because each one of these stories sucks me in. But in this one, you have these girls that get picked up in an Uber, and the guy, I guess this maybe the theme here is interrupted masturbation. I don't know if we have that in all the stories, but here they see the guy pleasuring himself while he's giving them a ride, so they bail out, and they need to get help in a different way. This is obviously going to be an ongoing, because now they're going into a forest. An odd feature of this one is that the author Asia Bay has done all these notes underneath, which I've seen before in Squirrel Girl. I've seen an artist do this to comedic effect, but this is, she says, I'm assuming she, apologies if not, but she says that this is something she's seen in manga and wanted to try it out. The only weird thing about it is it's kind of like this, like trying to be wise life advice. Men can be very gross. I do suggest fighting them if you feel strong. I honestly don't know what to do if it's a moving vehicle, though. Maybe you're very cool and athletic and can actually tuck and roll out of a car. I'm more like Alice, the one in the pants, and interested in revenge, however. Be yourself. Strength looks different on everyone. So kind of these like weird platitudes of a 20-something. I don't know. That it's fine. It's do it. Like, say what you want to say, but it just feels like something that this artist is going to be embarrassed about in 10 years going back. And who the fuck was I to be like giving out advice on, saying I don't know what I'm doing, but also like giving advice on how to escape from a car. It just seemed like someone's speaking out of turn a little bit to me, that speaking about things they don't really know about. And it just seems like there's a lot of that in the world today. I'm sure I engage in it as well, but it's just a weird kind of unnecessary addition to an otherwise interesting book. I think the format of that is very interesting. I just think it needs to, the Squirrel Girl one was kind of funnier at least, but there's something there in these idea of comics footnotes, but that was just totally disconnected. I guess Masamune Shiro type of footnotes that relate to the story would be more interesting. This kind of relates, it's talking about jumping out of a car, but it's like you don't actually have anything to say about that. You're just saying you don't have anything to say. So the comic was great. Don't need the stuff at the bottom. Here we get back to Tunnel Vision, which is the Audra Stang entry, and you have the kids now going out into the woods to get to this tunnel that all the teens go have sex in. Again, talking about really well observed, just kind of human behavior, great fiction writing stuff, great character writing. You have all the characters here all walking together. They're going on a long walk, and you see they don't really know each other very well either. And so they kind of run out of things to talk about. And you get this sense of isolation here with these characters with the white around them. One of them's thinking about holding hands and then hating herself. These two obviously are both hating themselves. And then each one of them kind of has their own different thing that they're thinking about and worried about. And that's really interesting. There's all kinds of different things going on in these characters. And so you get a sense of how, even though they're all kind of involved in the same activity, they're really living in completely different worlds. They're concerned about different things. And that's represented so simply and so effectively here. Just writing and art, I think, is great. So we get up to where they come into the tunnel, and on it, obviously, it's, this is what teens will do. It's gross and nasty. There's used condoms all over the place. There's graffiti everywhere. And then I also just think what Audra Stang is doing with like this black colored pencil or wax crayon or something to get this just nasty textural effect everywhere works really good. I think in certain areas it gets a little muddy. I'm not sure that, relative to the original art, this is the best reproduction of this, but it's a really nice effect, especially once you get down in the tunnel. And then you get the next entry in Sean Knickerbocker's best of 3. So remember, we have this character here who's now got a sword, who's basically living on someone else's property, and they want to kick him out. And then we get a peek at this guy in the car who is like some kind of a mob guy. And we get into a fight with the mob members here, basically. I'm trying to not give away spoilers, even kind of keep explaining how the story moves forward without giving away all the spoilers. This is a weird thing about kind of reviewing an anthology, where it's kind of unfolding for me in each episode as well. But again, you can see, I don't even have to talk about how good the cartooning is in all of these. It's just great cartooning throughout. Pretty good reproduction all the way throughout. There's in issue number 3, Knickerbocker talks about reproduction to some extent. So they know what they're doing with the black and white art. That all looks really good. I just think it's when it gets to this type of stuff that's a little trickier. I'm not sure. I'd have to see the original art to know how much fidelity there is. But it just, some of these areas look like, there's probably supposed to be a little bit more differentiation in the tones. But I could be wrong. I don't know. It's readable. It looks good. But it just looks like not 100% like what the original art would look like. But everything else looks really good. You can see each one of these artists has their own voice, really, their own style, but they're all developed and sophisticated styles. So again, I'm just really, really excited, really, really high on the Rust Belt review, all the artists that are involved, and this is something I hope continues for a long time. I hope all of these artists continue working. I hope they all have big bodies of work and collections and stuff like that, because they all deserve it. This is the best of the best of the up-and-comers, I think. And so definitely go grab yourself a copy, support this group of artists. If you want to support what we're doing here at Living the Line, the best thing to do is to, there's 2 ways to support us. One is through our Patreon. We have 2 different tiers of engagement on there. At the first tier, you can get early access to the videos. At the second tier, you get exclusive previews of the books that Sean and I are working on that will be coming out in the next couple years, as well as the ability to participate and help control what happens in our ongoing webcomic experiment, Prane Day. Any of the money that we make from the Patreon just helps us buy the books that we review, so we turn that back into the community, just keep this whole ball rolling, keep you and stuff to check out, and we really appreciate that. If you want to support Living the Line itself and the mission of Living the Line, then the best thing to do is to support what Sean's doing with Living the Line Publishing. So we'll go ahead and take a look at one of his projects now. The Exile by Eric Creek is a gorgeously illustrated Viking saga of revenge. Eric Creek calls it his Viking Western. It's about a guy who's been away on the warpath and is returning home to some family troubles that have to be resolved. And this is told in just this amazing, kind of 3-color art style that looks like old woodblock cuts or something. It's absolutely gorgeous book that you've got to pick up. Thanks for following along. Take it away, Jack.
You want to see all these books? Smash that subscribe button and the like button and the bell, and then you